Logie Bay Gamers back again. Today we got tree branches because we're making some Treefolk. What's a Treefolk? It's a kind of like a tree that's alive. Can't tell if my camera can see this now. I'm pretty sure it should be able to. Alright, yeah, professional stuff. Sorry, we haven't tested this. We just changed the way it is set up. A tree folk is a tree that's alive. Like I said, mainly they're green. And they've been in the game since alpha. Don't have the Iron Root Tree Folk, the original one here right now. But that's the original. I think it's the name. But this one's from Weatherlight's pretty similar. Just a 3/6 guy. They made a few black and white tree folks as well. In like the lower one block. And these are the only ones that are not green in any capacity or whatever. There's a blue and green tree folk, but only one. And there's a few that are like multicolor, like black, green, green, white, and these couple legends that are triple color, green, black, and white. Because I don't know, this colorful order dude is somehow king of the trees in like the lore world. I'm not a big expert on like how these things happen, but basically tree folk are mainly like a creature that has lower power than toughness. They're usually big, like cost a decent amount of mana to put them out, like even like sometimes like ridiculous, like this one's a 2/10. It's kind of silly. These are just vanilla creatures. A lot of them are just vanilla creatures that's they're not tribe that gets like a whole lot of respect, I don't think, even though they gave them a lot of respect once in the lower one block. Lignify is about the most one of the coolest tree folk cards, but it's a enchantment aura. Turn something into a tree. Pretty cool. We're just gonna make a few trees today in the world of trees that they haven't gone to yet, which is red. There's no red. There's no blue. There's no red at all. No green, red, nothing. It's pretty hard to make a tree that's not green, but so you're seeing a lot of red cards. They're like it's like eggs, like for a dragon. Figured this is like similar. Check it out. Flame hardened seed. And have the regular old cost that they put on the eggs. I guess it's like a fire. I think I drew that wrong. There's a red fire. It goes the other way. This is supposed to be a red mana. Said I was gonna get a red marker. I didn't do that, so this is another black and white episode. Check it out. Flame hardened seed. This is gonna be a creature, which is a tree folk seed. And it's just a little seed. It didn't grow up yet to a big tree. I hope that you can see the bottom corner. I'm just gonna check my camera. Oh, you can't quite. Yeah, you can't see my whole page. Well, I should move it up a little bit, but I'll just like try to fit my picture in this smaller amount. Figure this would be a 0/1, and it's a seed, so it has to grow into a big tree. So, how do you spell indestructible? I hope I did it right. Indestructible, and it's gonna be a defender. But also can't block. It's just a useless little seed 0/1 just sitting there. But anyway, what it does is it'll grow into a tree. So whenever combat damage is whenever a creature, there you go. And this can't block, so whatever. It's whenever a creature deals combat damage at all. You put a growth counter on this. And I'm just gonna write in seed instead of flame hardened seed, could just be like that. Put a growth counter on the seed. Then I don't really like flip cards, but there's gonna be a flip card just because the eggs are flip cards. So that's one instance where they kind of make sense to me. A lot of them, when they change type, I find it too confusing. But I can get something growing up. I can't understand. Anyway, if they put a growth counter on whenever it sees a creature do damage, basically. Then if there are 10 or more growth counters, you flip it. Flip seed. And you know, we gotta draw this picture really, really, really fast. So this would be like one of those ones where it like you see it up close and there's like a reflection in the seed of like a battle going on far away, like two people like sorting each other, but it's all like the perspective is all altered and stuff because it's just merely a reflection in a seed sitting here in like a field of flame, because it's just sitting there in the battlefield growing from the pain and blood of others. Now, I didn't do a good depiction of it, but that's all we can do right now. Flame hardened seed, there you go. So it's like a 0-1 seed. We're going to make the thing it flips into, which is going to be what did I name it? The Flaming Battlefolk. I thought it was a pretty decent name. I'm going to write this slightly lower, right? So it fits in the camera. Hopefully it did fit in the camera and I didn't just write it lower for nothing. And then I should write the bottom up a bit higher, I guess, because I didn't put up my camera high enough. We don't want to adjust it right now. That would be wild. That would be like absolutely out of hand. But Flaming Battlefolk, it's a Treefolk. It's just red. I don't know how they convey it's red. I guess there's a circle here that's red, but I'll just put an R. Because it's the back side of the seed card that we just did. It's a Treefolk, so in kind of a rare fashion for red, it has higher power than toughness by quite a bit, or lower power than toughness, sorry. And then anyway, we want to continue the flaming battlefield. So whenever the flaming battle oak deals or receives damage, it's gonna do stuff because the other side did stuff with that. So I think it's like easier to understand the flip cards if the two sides are kind of like related or whatever. Flaming Battlefolk, I'll just write it as the FBF. Flaming Battlefolk, because, yeah, whatever. Deals or receives. Wait, I thought about this IE after C thing for a second, and then I got confused. So we're gonna scrap it, and we're just gonna write receives with like 3-4 E's. Receives, like that. Just to avoid the censors. So whenever a Flaming Battlefolk deals or receives combat damage, is it receives? Is that the word for it? I don't know. Combat damage, put a +1/+0 counter on it. 4. It's on fire though, so each damage dealt. That's how you spell dealt. So basically, like if it gets in a fight, it's gonna get powered up by catching on fire, and it doesn't slow down because it was forged in the flames of battle. So you're dealing with an angry Treefolk running across the lands on fire. At no point was it required for this tree to be green. It was forged in the heart of battle. I don't know if that even looks like a tree anymore. But it's supposed to be on fire and like running across the landscape. And if anything messes with this tree, it's gonna just catch on fire more. And if the thing's a bit too big, it'll catch on fire so much it burns down. But that's all we can do. So that's the back side of the seed, a red Treefolk, the first red Treefolk for Magic. Here you go. Ruin the tribe. Make it red. Make it in every color. Ruin everything. That's what we're doing here. But how do you make a blue tree? There already is like one blue tree, which is the truth. It is green blue though. And I was thinking about blue trees. What's blue? Like kind of like a tree, like seaweed. But seaweed's not a tree. And like mangroves, stuff next to a bog. This stuff could be blue maybe. Make it next to a lake maybe. I guess they make bogs be like black, but around bogs a lot. Nah, they're kind of blue to me. Some of them. Anyway, so what can you do for this tree? I figured, what if a tree like fell into a pond? The drowned algal spruce. It's like on the edge of the pond, it fell in to the water and now is underwater. And you're trying to deal with the fact that it's getting reanimated by magic algae. Wild. So this is just a kind of a simple card for your drafts or whatever, you know, not a big like heavy hitter like whatever we just made. I don't even really remember what it was. The Flaming Battlefolk. Not much of a heavy hitter either, but this will be even a lighter hitter. Creature Treefolk. So this is basically a Treefolk who fell in the water and drowned, but then got brought back to life by algae. But the algae is blue algae, so not like black algae. It's not a zombie or whatever. It's gonna be a 2/4 for 3 mana, simple guy, and it's just creatures blocking or blocked by it are gonna get a debuff. Creatures blocking or blocked by drowned algal spruce. Oh, he's DAS. He used to be banned here in town. Blocking or blocked by DAS get -4, -0 until end of turn. So it's just like a simple sort of card. Just say if people aren't gonna block it, maybe it's a 2/4 getting it for 2 damage. Block's pretty good. Can block like big stuff, typical blue kind of crap. You know, figure what else could a blue Treefolk even be, really? Although it's good for blue. Blue likes to have high toughness guys or weird power and toughness mismatch. You know, they're into that. But maybe a wizard tree could like swap power and toughness or something. Well, I gave this one flavor text. Size of that now. More like size of that now. And that was said by Keith. And I guess this one you're seeing like is underwater. I don't know how to convey that it's underwater. So we got our spruce drowned underwater. This is gonna be a nice one or something someone could have used for a Christmas tree. But now it's got like stuff coming off it. Why is this a dangerous tree, you might ask? Well, it has eyes, and they're very, very angry eyes. And it's underwater. And the reason why, you can tell, fish. It's going after these fish and stuff. You saw it here, folks. Drowned algal spruce, the first blue Treefolk, underwater swimming around. It's wild. You gotta look out. Keith saw that one first. So now we're gonna go for an artifact tree because there's no artifact Treefolk either. Might as well keep going, ruin everything. Petrified Iron Root. This is like after Urza did like evil experiments and exploded the whole world. He left behind crap. Like he destroyed the Iron Root Treefolk forest and petrified them. You go back, or artifact creature. You go back much later and there's nothing but petrified wood. But this Treefolk are magical and there was Urza spells around and all that crap, so they managed to come back to life. I only made this box kind of smaller because I don't know. So this is a petrified Iron Root. It's a Treefolk. It's only going to cost 5. Maybe I should have put the cost in later. It gives it all away. But this is going to be a 3/12 because it's petrified. The original one's a 3/5. The Iron Root Treefolk is going to be 3/12 because it's petrified. It's real hard now. Can't stop it. But that's kind of crazy. It only costs 5 mana. So this petrified Iron Root is going to put him in as the petrified PIR, petrified Iron Root. Enters the battlefield tapped. EDB tapped. Oh yeah, look at all those breves. Alright, so we got the petrified Iron Root enters the battlefield tapped. And doesn't untap during your unsap step is old school. But that's no fun. So you got to be able to untap it. So for one, untap the Petrified Iron Root, and that's too broken. So we say activate only once each turn. And then, if you set it up, you can abuse it on your opponent's turn, but you can't go infinite or whatever and do some gross stuff unless you figure some way to blink this over and over. Anyway, what you got? So it's 5 for 312. I don't know. Anyone can put it out. It's kind of nuts, but it seems like they don't care if stuff has super high toughness. So this is for everyone with the Doran deck out there. This one's going to come out. You got to untap it for one, so it's kind of like it's 6 to put it out anyway. And then it's kind of like bad after. But if you put the right equipment on it or something, maybe those like plus, that could be useful stuff for you. What do you think? And then, but I thought just to make it a little more fun, whenever the Petrified Iron Root becomes tapped, it gets a buff. Gains +3 +0 till end of turn. So all these Treefolk we made today do stuff with power toughness adjustment, mainly power adjustment, which is strange because they're toughness creatures. But we showed up with a bunch of toughness creatures that want to screw with your power because they like their toughness and they want to take advantage of it in some capacity. We didn't think about anything interesting like blue roots tapping things down forever, or like blue roots crushing you to death, or the bog petrifying you as well and preserving you, the ancient tree in the middle of a bog. Maybe we'll come back to a really old Treefolk who lives next to the ocean. There's a lot of trees like that here where I live, and they're very, very old, but they're still very tiny. Missed opportunity. We just didn't want to make any that were green, so we made a red, we made a blue, made a artifact one. What can you do? The red was double-sided, and this has been a long ramble about basically nothing. But draw pictures of this Petrified Iron Root. What's the original Iron Root? He's like this, and he's like pretty angry dude. This one's like even more like just like glued out because it's petrified. It's just like no leaves left, barely a branch. Doesn't matter though. It's still gonna beat you up, but don't forget it's made of stone, so it lives not so much in the forest, but and among like mountain cliffs and rocks and stones and that kind of stuff. Because people had to go excavate these, although this one excavated itself. But some of them wizards excavate them, not wizards of the coast, but wizards that live in this land. They'll excavate these Treefolks and try to reanimate them for their own purposes. But some of those wizards' lives end in absolute pain and horror, so I wouldn't recommend it. That's it. Some weird Treefolk we made today. I hope you enjoyed. I always have to check and see if I can recap, but you always got to recap. Shout out to Midgard Gaming in Mount Pearl, Newfoundland, for this pen. They didn't give it to us for the show though. We just got the pen. But shout out to Midgard Gaming because it's a great store. Flame Hardened Seed. First one is an indestructible Treefolk seed. It's a 0/1, but it can't block and it can't attack. So it's like just sits there basically. Didn't want to make it be an artifact though. The Flame Hardened Seed is 1 in red to put out. I forgot to say that, but whatever. Whenever it sees creature deal combat damage on the board, put a growth counter on it, and if there's 10 or more, you flip it. So basically, just like whenever a creature deals combat damage, gets counters. Just wait. I forgot to say for each damage dealt, That was what it was supposed to be, so it doesn't have to sit there forever. Like, it can just happen pretty fast. I totally left that out. Oops. Whenever a creature deals combat damage with a growth counter on seed for each damage dealt. There we go. Then, if there are 10 or more growth counters, flip the seed. You must have thought that card was super bad earlier. It's a little better than it was. Flips over into the Flaming Battlefolk, also a red guy, Treefolk. And then whenever the Flaming Battlefolk deals or receives combat damage, you put a +1/+0 counter on it for each damage dealt. So it catches on fire, it becomes more painful because it's only a 2/5 to begin with. But look out, if you make that flame up, it's going to burn your house down. We got the Drowned Algal Spruce, the blue spruce. The fella who fell into the pond saw that now, says Keith, about the spruce. And he's got drowned by algae and kind of come back to life into like a swimming tree that eats fish underwater. And creatures blocking or blocked by the drowned algal spruce will get -4, -0 till end of turn. So it's just a little simple guy, probably not common or uncommon. And then we got the Petrified Iron Root, which is like a uncommon of today, rare of the past. Petrified Iron Root is a 5 mana artifact creature Treefolk. That's a 3/12. Oh my god. It enters the battlefield tapped though and doesn't untap during an untap step. So is it fair? I don't know. Pay 1 to untap it, but only once each turn. So you can do that a bunch in multiplayer. Have a bit of fun. But only 1 per turn. Not too much fun. And then whenever it does become tapped, it cuts +3/+0 till the end of turn. So maybe you find some other way to tap it over and over. Cause some pain. But that's on you. So, you Treefolk today, Lowy Bay gamers, thanks for checking them out. Make a few something else's next week, who knows. Cool.